such a big win for me and every man over the age of 50. So in this film, a unit of cops called the Tactical Narcotics Team finds $20 million stashed away in a house, and the team disagrees on what to do next, resulting in distrust breaking out. Now, I am a sucker for this kind of crime thriller made for adults that we don't get to see very often anymore, but even putting my bias aside, this is a good one. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck play these sort of brothers in arms who've worked on the force in Miami for a long time together. They have a really good understanding of how one another operates, their weaknesses, their flaws, their strengths, and I think the chemistry that these two have in real life is key to making this film work. But as the two of these cops start to disagree on what to do with this money they found, we can feel their closeness kind of turning into bitterness, and their relationship is corroding before our eyes, and we feel the history that they have together and how that's honestly enhancing the anger that they feel. And these two guys are just so dependable. Every time they're in a movie, they show up to work. They're so consistently good at playing any role they take on. But I think they're really at home in this kind of pretty macho role. I think each of them is fantastic, particularly Damon, who is playing a character with a haunted past, who's dealing with a lot of trauma. And so we, as the audience, are kind of wondering how that's coming into play in his decision making. Is it clouding his judgment at all? And I think that this film thrives in generating paranoia and distrust among this unit, because they're all dealing with the fallout of having lost one of their team members. And this has kind of put them all on edge. They're wondering who they can trust. Is there a traitor in their ranks? And Joe Carnahan is so great at this kind of movie. This is the guy behind Cop Shop, Narc, The Gray. He is really great at these sorts of grimy thrillers, but it's not all about the action. And this film has kind of a surprising lack of bloodshed for the majority of the runtime. What's interesting is the character dynamics constantly shifting and changing and evolving. We're constantly learning more, and that sense of discovery helps this thing hum throughout. There's a really cool kind of bonehead macho sensibility to the way this movie plays out. The characters are delivering very grindhousey lines, and Carnahan's really good at directing his actors to deliver this dialogue in a way that feels authentic. But I also think that it rewards very close viewing, because there are details and nuances in the performances and in what kind of reaction shots were being shown and when. It honestly plays out like a whodunit in many regards. And I do think that it will reward repeat viewing as well. There are layers to this movie, and there are many conflicting motivations ongoing between these characters. And at any given moment, you can think of double motives behind what any given character is doing at any given time. Are they doing this to try to frame their buddies? Are they doing it because they're trying to do the right thing? Who's trying to hide information? Who's trying to blow the situation up? It's really engaging and dynamic storytelling throughout. The supporting cast is really great as well. Tiana Taylor, Stephen Yeun, several others who are great in this movie. Everybody just really understands the assignment. And I think that's the case in pretty much all Carnahan films. He's so good at getting people on the right page and making a film that could be really cringy and basic much better in practice than it is in theory. Something that bothers me in the filmmaking here is there's not as much trust in the audience as I think there could have been. For a film that has a lot of nuance in the performances and in the dialogue, it constantly flashes back and shows you certain things that happened, or gives you a new perspective of things through a flashback instead of just trusting you to pick up on what the characters are saying. And I think that if the film had allowed a bit more ambiguity and allowed you to think, well, did that actually happen, or are they just saying it happened, as opposed to flashing back and showing you they're telling the truth, this is actually what happened, I think it kind of undermines the paranoia and the tension that it did such a good job of setting up for the first hour and 20 minutes. Also, at a certain point, the film breaks out of this one house where the majority of the story takes place, and I found that that really did not service the experience well at all. I think this thing works best as a very contained thriller, and once it breaks out of that, there's a lot of jumps that you have to take to make this story make sense. It suddenly becomes hard to believe, and I felt like it was pretty credible for a while there. I thought the more over the top it got towards the end, the less bought in I felt, even though I was invested in these characters' journey throughout. Real quick before I give you my final thoughts, go ahead and click subscribe if you're enjoying this video. If you like film commentary that prioritizes filmmaking and the film-going experience, I'm covering new movies every single week. Overall, this is exactly the kind of movie that I want to see more of. Gritty crime thrillers made for adults with stars like this in the lead roles. I think Carnahan is cut out to make this kind of movie. I'm so glad that Affleck and Damon got on board, and I had an absolute blast, even if there are some shortcomings in the filmmaking. For all of those reasons, The Rip gets a B+. Definitely check this movie out. It's streaming on Netflix now. I think it's a great time. It's not just for your dad, even though he's probably going to have a great time with it. I think this movie is a really elevated version of what it could have been. If you have seen the film, please let me know what you thought of it. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you at the movies.